She filed a complaint against me. A formal written statement, with specific allegations, a date, a signature, accusing me of assaulting an elderly person. She didn't file it with the police. She filed it with the school superintendent, because she knew exactly where I lived professionally, and she went straight for it. My name is B. I am 34 years old, and I have spent my adult life doing two things: teaching mathematics and building a life that nobody could take from me by accident. I married Joe 5 years ago. I thought I was marrying into a family. What I was actually doing was handing someone a set of keys she would eventually use to try to burn the whole thing down. Joe's mother had never been easy. Not difficult in ways you could point to directly. No scenes, no open cruelty. Just a quality of attention that made you feel like you were always being measured against something she never told you about. The first Thanksgiving I hosted for Joe's family. She walked through my kitchen without saying a word, opened my refrigerator, looked inside it for 3 or 4 seconds, closed it, and sat down at the table. She never mentioned it. She didn't have to. I managed her the way you manage things that have no clean answer, by being excellent at everything she could see: my home, my classroom, my manners at her table. I gave her nothing to hold against me. Then her younger son announced he was getting married in Thailand. The trip would cost close to $10,000 for the two of us: flights, hotel, several days overseas for a destination wedding. We did not have that money sitting available. We had a mortgage, a car payment, the ordinary weight of two people building something together. Joe told his brother we would do everything we could. We had a year to prepare. We tried. I want to be precise about that because it matters later. We genuinely tried. We cut expenses, put money aside every month. Then the car needed $2,000 in repairs we couldn't push off. Then Joe needed a dental implant, nearly $4,000 after everything was done. By the time the year was up, we had not been able to pull together what the trip required. We called Joe's brother and explained. He understood. He was gracious. His mother was not.
Quick pause before we go further. This channel runs on your signal. The algorithm won't move without it. Like, subscribe. One action right now means everything. Now let's get back into it.
She didn't ask questions. She didn't call to discuss it. She called to deliver a verdict: that we had chosen not to come, that we had decided her son's wedding wasn't worth the effort, that this was who we were. She said it to Joe first. Then she called me separately the following evening, which told me everything about how deliberate this was, and said it again, almost word for word, as if she had rehearsed it. Joe tried to explain the finances. I tried once. She wasn't interested in any of it. What she wanted was the wound, and she had found it. After that, the calls slowed down. The visits stopped entirely. We let the distance settle without pulling at it. We had no interest in forcing something that had already turned. Joe grieved it in his own way. I watched him and stayed quiet, because there was nothing useful I could say. I thought that was the worst of it. A cold withdrawal. Silence that was meant to punish us. And did. She had decided we wronged her, and she was going to make sure we felt it for as long as she wanted us to feel it. I was wrong about what she was capable of. When the time came to renew my teaching contract, I was called into my director's office. He sat across from me, and I could tell before he opened his mouth that whatever he was about to say, he did not want to be the one saying it. He told me the superintendent had issued instructions. My contract would not be renewed. I asked why. He told me a complaint had been filed, written, with specific allegations, accusing me of assault against an elderly person. I asked him to say it again. He did. I asked who had filed it. He said he didn't know. The complaint had come through the superintendent's office, and the name had not been shared with him directly. I asked for a copy. He paused. A long pause. He had a policy in front of him and a person in front of him, and they were telling him to do two different things. Then he stood up, walked to the photocopier, and set a copy on the desk in front of me. I looked at the name on the complaint. I picked up my bag, thanked him, and walked out of the building. I stood in the parking lot in the afternoon light, and I understood, completely, immediately, what had happened, and exactly what it was going to cost her. I called Joe from the car. I kept my voice level. I told him what the director had said. I told him whose name was on the document. He went quiet, not confused, not doubtful. He already knew there hadn't been a mistake. When he finally spoke, he said two things. "I am so sorry." And then, "Whatever you need to do, I am with you." That was enough. I did not need him to be angry. I did not need him to call her. I needed him exactly where he put himself, beside me, without conditions, without asking me to soften what I was about to do. I spent that evening doing what I do with every problem that actually matters. I took it apart. What had been done, what could be proved, what the law allowed. The same discipline I bring to any equation. Isolate the variables, understand the rules, find the answer. Her complaint named a specific date. I had been in my classroom on that date. 31 students sitting in front of me, a sign-in sheet, a lesson plan, a digital attendance record. I had all of it, because I have kept records my entire career. That is what a woman does when she has always understood that her only protection against being misrepresented is documentation. I called attorneys that same week. The one I hired understood immediately, filing a fabricated written accusation against a specific person to destroy her employment. That is criminal in this state, a misdemeanor, a conviction that would follow her name on every background check for the rest of her life. And then there was the civil side, falsely accusing someone of a crime in writing. The accusation itself is the damage. I had 9 years in that building without a single complaint. 9 years, gone on a piece of paper she wrote at her kitchen table. My attorney put a number on it. $2 million. The 2 years that followed were the longest of my life. Not because I doubted what was coming, but because the legal system moves when it decides to move, and it has no interest in your timeline. I substitute taught where I could find openings. Some weeks there were 3 days, some weeks there was 1, some weeks there was nothing. And I sat at my kitchen table at 7:15 in the morning, the time I used to pull into the school parking lot, with a cup of coffee and no place to be. I tutored students privately in the evenings, teenagers working through algebra problems while I sat across from them in the same chair where I ate dinner. The criminal case moved first. She was charged with a misdemeanor for filing a false written statement, fabricated accusations directed at a named individual, submitted to her employer with the intent to end her livelihood. She hired an attorney. She showed up to court. And when the evidence was laid out, my attendance records, my lesson plan, 31 students who could confirm I was standing in front of them on the date she claimed I had assaulted her, there was nothing her attorney could do with it. The conviction went on her record. It will be there when anyone looks. Joe stopped calling her after the charges were filed. He didn't announce it. He didn't make a speech about it. He just stopped. Her number would come up on his phone and he would look at it and set the phone face down on the counter. After a few weeks, she stopped calling. I watched that happen from across the room more than once, watched him stare at the phone, watched his jaw tighten, watched him put it down without a word. He never talked about it. But there were evenings I would find him sitting in the kitchen with nothing in front of him, just sitting. And I understood that he was grieving something that was still alive, but already gone. I kept detailed records during those 2 years. Every dollar I did not earn. Every opportunity I could not take. Every morning I woke up and had no classroom to walk into. Then the civil case. She did not have the resources to fight what we had built. 2 years of documented lost income. 31 students who could confirm exactly where I was on the date she named in her complaint. A director who walked to a photocopier when policy told him not to, because 9 years had meant something to him. A misdemeanor conviction already on her record, proving the accusation had been a fabrication. My attorney was not unkind in that courtroom. She was precise. And when she finished presenting the timeline, the complaint, the date, the students, the attendance records, the 9 years without a single mark against me, the room went quiet, not a pause between arguments. The quiet that settles when there is nothing left to argue. The judgment was $2 million. She did not have $2 million. What she had was a house. The lien attached immediately, locked to the property, impossible to remove, impossible to negotiate away with an apology or a phone call to her son. The house sold for $700,000. She had lived in that house for over 30 years, raised her sons in it, hosted every holiday I had ever attended as Joe's wife. I knew what that house meant to her, because I had sat in her living room and watched her move through it with the ease of a woman who believed she would die in the rooms she had built her life inside of. But she is old, and she is Joe's mother. And whatever she did to me, I was not going to leave her without a roof. I told my attorney to release $200,000 from the proceeds, enough for a small home on the outer edge of the city, a 2-bedroom on a quiet street with a small yard, 4 walls, a place to be old in. That was my decision, and I made it clearly. I was not forgiving her. I was not softening. I was finishing this on terms I could live with for the rest of my life. And I had thought about those terms long before a judge read a number out loud in a courtroom. That small house carries a lien. It is attached to the property, and it is attached to her. When she dies, whatever is left passes first to the judgment before a single dollar reaches anyone she intended to leave it to. If she ever comes into money, an inheritance, a settlement, a gift from anyone, the full $2 million must be satisfied before she can hold any of it. The judgment does not expire. It does not reduce. It does not care how old she gets. It waits. What is mine is this: the same school district that let me go based on a document she fabricated called me 2 years later and offered me my position back. Same building, same classroom. I walked in on a Monday morning in September, and I wrote an equation on the board, and 31 students opened their notebooks. My name is B. She filed one piece of paper to end my career. I filed one lawsuit to end her financial life, and mine was true.
I'm on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers to bring you even crazier stories. Subscribe now and don't miss the next payback.